Today's Metro News television forecast is brought to you by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We sell family fun.
More dense fog is possible tonight into Wednesday morning's commute. Additional shower and thunderstorm potential the rest of the work week and through the weekend, bringing the potential for some flash flooding. Greater concern in the short term is looking east with the flood watch in effect through midnight, where we have a slight risk for excessive rain as we head into the overnight hours. A widespread marginal risk Wednesday and again on Thursday. So the highest accumulation through Thursday night is expected to be east, where we have the best chance of surpassing an inch. Central and western parts of West Virginia will get this opportunity for a slight risk of excessive rainfall Friday and again Saturday. So multiple rounds of potential flooding on the way. The first one here exiting as we head through the overnight hours. Then Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a bit more localized thunderstorms, nevertheless bringing the potential for some locally heavy rainfall. FlySair forecast, it starts at home. You'll find a lot of areas you're traveling into may also have some wet weather to be mindful of as we head through the rest of the work week. Panhandle to Panhandle forecast, low temperature of 66 in Kingwood tonight, 70 for Moundsville, where we have 87 on Wednesday, 85 Morgantown, with showers and thunderstorms expected. Going east, mid-60s, rather common for lows in the overnight hours. Then 83 for Martinsburg. We'll see Petersburg, similar conditions. Davis staying in the 70s. Elkins, 67 tonight, closer to 70, looking toward Ripley. Highs here generally in the mid-80s on Wednesday. Snowshoe, 74. We'll see Lewisburg's 64 tonight, with Charleston at 70. 86 there Wednesday, and some low 80s as you start to look to the east. So the focus will be on this active stretch with the potential for a lot of rainfall that could lead to flooding concerns the rest of the week into the weekend, looking quieter next week.
You own a boat because you love spending time on the water. Choose the outboard that allows you to make the most of it. Honda Marine's legendary reliability, ease of maintenance, and powerful performance keep you going strong. And they're all backed by the peace of mind protection of the industry's best limited warranty. Visit your Honda Marine dealer today and find out why it's more than an engine. It's your time on the water.
Five, three,
Red 57, hot.
Day at the World Cup, as the defending champs have to come from behind and they advance Argentina, and there was controversy there. And as we speak, Switzerland and Colombia are in extra time. That's a scoreless game. They're battling for the final spot in the quarterfinals. Ethan Collins of MetroNews Sports will join us in the studio a little bit later on, and we'll get into the World Cup in detail. But first, Greg Carey of MetroNews Sports, WVMetroNews.com. He's first up with us. And Greg, first of all, to you, good evening. Thanks for your time.
Good evening. How you doing?
We're doing well. Okay, so you followed this Kerr Kriisa story very closely, and it's incredible. It's bizarre. It's one of those things that you think, well, I've seen it all or I've heard it all, and then something like this comes up. So I know you've updated your article, your story at the website numerous times today, and I guess the latest result was that Kriisa was actually released on bond today in Kentucky, right? But he still has to come to West Virginia to face charges.
Correct. Kerr Kriisa had he was arraigned today in a federal courtroom this afternoon in Lexington, though he did not enter a plea, and he was granted by a judge to be released from jail under several conditions, including that he not violate state or federal law, that he turn in his passport, and that he have no contact with any of the victims or witnesses, as mentioned in the indictment that was released yesterday. And he will remain in Kentucky, but is now set to travel for his next court appearance, which will come Thursday, July 16th in Clarksburg at 2:30 p.m., and that will obviously be his first appearance in West Virginia, probably the first of several appearances in West Virginia. So we've discovered a lot in the last 48 hours, give or take, in a case that's, just surfaced Saturday evening, but still a lot of questions to be answered. And obviously at this point, without any sort of a postponed hearing, we will see and hear from Kerr Kriisa next week in north central West Virginia.
And we're going to hear from Matt Harvey, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. He joined Dave and TJ on Talkline earlier today, so we'll get his comments. But just to get listeners caught up, for those who may not know about this or kind of fill in the details, Kerr Kriisa, former WVU men's basketball player, he left here a couple of years ago and had stops in Kentucky and Cincinnati after his time in West Virginia from two, again, alleged victims. So, again, Greg, we're going to hear from Matt Harvey in a moment, but fill in the details up until this point.
Yeah, and listen to that interview, as you alluded to earlier, with Matt Harvey earlier this morning. He did confirm that both of those victims, who were loaning what sounds like large sums of money on numerous occasions, as is alleged in the indictment, are native West Virginians, are people that, you know, some of us may even know or have heard of. And obviously that remains to be seen and remains to be detailed. But essentially, you know, what is alleged in that indictment is pretty nasty stuff. I mean, he was, for a span of 3+ years, was, you know, basically what they are alleging to have lied and faked some family sicknesses, and even had the alias that he was using under himself as Irene, had offered to, you know, pay back people by donating his organs. And obviously none of these payments ever came to fruition. And another thing that Matt Harvey confirmed on Talkline this morning was that the case surfaced because one of those victims, you know, basically made a referral and turned him in to the FBI, which then began this investigation that we now know is at least several months, I would say, you know, in the works. And the thing that I'm still kind of in the dark about and have questions is how many victims, because that indictment says it started in 2022 in the calendar year, at which time he would have been playing in Arizona. He would have had no tie whatsoever to West Virginia then. So you would think that there are some more victims, maybe some victims out of state. And then it also mentions wire transfers of money in February of this year that were going through Morgantown. And as you mentioned earlier, I mean, he has not played here in nearly, you know, over 2 calendar years, but what would have been nearly 2 calendar years from February of 2026. The last time he, you know, represented West Virginia in any capacity was March of 2024 in the end of his loan, and obviously what was a forgetful season for the Mountaineers that year. So seems like there are still some unanswered questions. Maybe there are a group of victims that are not even factored into West Virginia, but it seems like the evidence that they have gathered, they feel as if the case can be pretty strongly presented, and there is enough evidence from what they have and know regarding at least the 2 victims centered around West Virginia for him to be tried within the state.
We're with Greg Carey of WVMetroNews.com. You can read his article, and again, he's worked diligently on this today, updating this article a couple of times today. Let's take a moment. Again, Matt Harvey's the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. He was a guest on Metro News Talkline earlier today with Dave Wilson and TJ Meadows.
So, Matt, just walk us through this indictment. 5 counts of wire fraud, a $2.2 million scheme. What does the indictment allege?
Well, what this was a scheme as alleged that was devised by the defendant to obtain money. And, you know, I think it's really important to start off with, as always, that these are allegations and that he enjoys the presumption of innocence, and we should afford him that until such time as he's proven guilty or pleads guilty. But this is what we're saying here in this indictment is that the allegations are that essentially he weaponized people's compassion and took advantage of them. He created a sense of, and what I mean by weaponize his compassion, he played on the goodness that people, these 2 individuals had, by creating a sense of a series of false emergencies, fictional third parties. He claims that his family was in imminent danger. His mother had cancer. He was going to sell his organs to pay back loans. And other financial crises that were becoming of his family. And what that did was that got these 2 individuals to loan him money. And the allegations are that there was no intention to ever repay these, that these weren't actual emergencies, that these were all created to steal money, essentially.
So again, there, Matt Harvey, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. And Greg, the phrase that stood out there immediately was that he weaponized people's compassion. Now, I've never heard that phrase before, but it seems appropriate here because, again, these are alleged crimes, but those things he claimed as family being in danger, losing family property, a mother with cancer, at least from what we can tell, none of that was true.
Right. And then let's not forget as well that he was basically signing things that, promised to be paying back some of these victims under a fake alias, evidently as Irene. So a lot of twists, a lot of turns. Obviously, much of, what you read in that indictment, there doesn't look to be much in the favor of Kerr Kriisa, but we know he will have his day in court. And as Harvey said, he is still presumed innocent under the court of law. And I think it's, a very serious, these allegations. Obviously, the substantial money amount is one of the things that first caught my eye. I think, when it first surfaced on Saturday, a lot of people in today's world, rightfully, they kind of jumped to the conclusion of, assuming there might be some point shaving allegations or something with bribery. I thought that for it to go back that long, unless they just didn't really have substantial evidence early in the case, I was a little bit hesitant to think that that's what it was. And then when you see the monetary figure and the amounts, that is really what jumps out, because not to make less or light of any of the sports bribery or point shaving, but generally with college athletes, that's nowhere near $2.2 million. It's not maybe uncommon to see $5, $10, $15, $20,000, but certainly we've yet to see anything really in present day where somebody was benefiting, multiple millions of dollars, as was the case that is alleged against Kriisa in this particular indictment.
And again, no gambling allegations at this point. And the two victims named in this complaint are West Virginia natives or West Virginia residents. So I assume that's why the judge in Kentucky allowed him, at least for now, to go free. He's not being held in prison, but he does have a responsibility to appear in court here in West Virginia next week. And that judge in Kentucky doesn't deem him a flight risk. I mean, that's the thing we haven't mentioned yet. He's a native of Estonia. He gave up his passport, of course, as part of this court proceeding today, but at least that judge did not consider him a flight risk.
Right. Yeah, and that's obviously an important note in today's proceedings as well. But I just think it'll be very interesting next week to kind of see which way Kerr Kriisa and his legal team, go to operate in what we have seen is, a lot of bad things, listed under his name in these particular indictments, and whether he maintains his innocence or opts to plead guilty remains to be seen. But certainly these are very serious allegations, and I think people within West Virginia would rightfully like to know more about these particular victims and how much money they were defrauded out of, and really how long this went on. Because, for somebody that was only here for 8.5, 9 months, and we know that even with the whole thing of, in the wake of Bob Huggins' resignation, there was some obviously scrutiny around Kerr Kriisa, whether he was going to stay or not. Then he ends up being suspended for the first 9 games of that season for a completely separate matter than what is alleged in these indictments. But, there was some red flags centered around him. He ended up playing the final 23 games of that season. But as we know, there wasn't much success in the way for West Virginia's men's basketball program that year, and it would just seem to be a turmoil-filled season. And then you wonder, when things like this are going on behind the scenes, how much that may have affected his on-court performance. And I think, a lot of people are also wondering, rightfully, why? Why was he in debt of some sort? He's getting obviously pretty favorable NIL packages. This is a player who played at 4 high-profile programs, what I think most people would consider 2 of the 10 best programs in the sport in Arizona and Kentucky. So, he was a very sought-after player. He had success on the international scene. He had a lot of success at Arizona over his 3 seasons there. So, it kind of begs the question, what was he in need of such substantial amounts of money for?
Yeah, that's a good point, and we'll move on from this. But, he was, when he came to West Virginia, he was considered one of the top 10 players in the portal that year. So, he got good money to come here. And, of course, Kentucky has one of the highest paid basketball rosters of, if not the highest, of any team in the country. So, he got even better money to go there. So he was making good money. All right, again, Greg Carey, you can read his work at WVMetroNews.com. Greg, moving on, Big 12 Media Days today. What struck you today with the comments from Commissioner Brett Yormark?
I think one of the first ones you alluded to in the intro is the way he dodged the whole Brendan Sorsby deal, and kind of what stuck out to me regarding his answer there is when he said, this isn't the day to discuss it. Well,
when is the day?
The follow-up to that is,
yeah.
Right, when is the day? I mean, that's half of your league is speaking in front of, half of the teams in your league are speaking today, and obviously there's an abundance of media on hand for both today and tomorrow's events, and we know West Virginia doesn't go until tomorrow, but I don't think there's going to come a point in, say, September or October where Brett Yormark is going to dedicate a day to, set aside answering any questions that media members have regarding Brendan Sorsby. So I understand that maybe it was the predictable answer to dodge it, but certainly can't fault, those who were asking about it because as, a neutral observer who's not there on hand, that would certainly have been one of the things, if not the number one thing, that I was most interested in hearing about.
Yeah, it was the number one thing. It was the first question. And, again, he just absolutely refused basically to answer the question. Greg, we did get preseason players. We did get the preseason all Big 12 team. But for the second year in a row, there's no Big 12 preseason poll. So I thought this week we're going to have Kevin Kinder from the Blue and Gold News is going to help co-host tomorrow, and Joe Bricata will be back on Thursday, and Luke's going to be here Friday. So I thought we'd do our MetroNews Sportsline Big 12 preseason poll. So I'd like to include you in that. So if you don't mind, start from the bottom and go through your Big 12. This is the Greg Carey Big 12 preseason poll.
Yeah, and let's hope this is a little bit more accurate than the 2024 one, which, as we know, is basically the reason this was scrapped the year Arizona State was predicted to finish last and ended up winning the league. So I guess from that point, I can't do any worse than that, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, but starting at the bottom, I had 16 as Colorado, and working way up, I had 15 Iowa State, 14 Cincinnati, 13 Kansas, 12 West Virginia, 11 Oklahoma State, 10 Central Florida, 9 Baylor, 8 TCU, 7 Arizona, 6 Houston, 5 Arizona State, 4 Kansas State, 3 Utah, 2 BYU, and 1 Texas Tech.
Texas Tech again. So you got a rematch in the conference championship game between Texas Tech and BYU. What do you like about those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of what Texas Tech brings back defensively. We know that obviously their offseason has rightfully been, centered around the controversy with Brendan Sorsby, and perhaps there are some quarterback questions. But, the fact remains that, whether you agree with it or not, the Red Raiders have fully invested in their roster. They're all in on winning. They dominated the Big 12 throughout most of last season, including some of those top-tier teams, as you mentioned, like BYU and Utah, in the regular season meetings as well as the Big 12 championship. That doesn't guarantee anything in the way of terms of success this year, but they've got 3 or 4 guys back on that defense that I expect to be all league performers and, maybe even in the running for Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And I think you look at BYU and the same can be said for their offense. And obviously the consistency that Kalani Sitake has built with that program and the way that they did have a couple down years, but generally they've had winning seasons under his watch. And I kind of went back and forth on BYU at 2 and Utah at 3. Utah's, very tough-minded team that's usually strong up front, but as we know, with Kyle Whittenberger no longer around, they'll be breaking in a new coach and Morgan Scalley. So he is somebody that's plenty familiar with the program. He's been a defensive coordinator there for the last 10 years, so might help in the transition, but I just thought that BYU had fewer questions than the Utes going into this season.
And you've got West Virginia at 12, a little bit of improvement from last year, but you've got Oklahoma rising up a little bit more than the Mountaineers this year. Obviously, Oklahoma State, that's what I meant to say, Oklahoma State had a dreadful season a year ago. So why the Cowboys slotted ahead of West Virginia?
Yeah, the number one reason for me there would be the addition of Drew Mestemaker, who was a very prolific quarterback at North Texas. And, there's going to be a lot of new quarterbacks. There certainly, appears that there may be even one at West Virginia, at least partially this year with Michael Hawkins. But Mestemaker's proven, certainly it's on not a level that's quite comparable to the Big 12, but still a proven Division I quarterback, and they also will be working with a new coach in Eric Morris. But like we know with Mestemaker, he's coming from North Texas, so there will be some adjustments and learning curves, but you don't expect the one for the quarterback who will largely be operating in the same system to have much of a transition there. Should be a pretty smooth one for him. And I would think West Virginia and Oklahoma State both have a chance at some significant improvement this year. But again, it kind of comes down to fewer question marks when you've got the solidified quarterback. And let's face it, as dreadful as Oklahoma State was last year, and they've had a couple of rough years, but that was kind of an anomaly. We know for the better part of Mike Gundy's tenure, they were generally in the top half, if not the top few teams in the Big 12. And I'm not saying I expect them to get to that level again this season, but I do think they will be dramatically improved. And I think that Big 12 opener in Morgantown for West Virginia against the Cowboys is going to be a big game for both sides.
That's a huge game, and there's another huge game right off the bat. One of the first Big 12 conference games is Texas Tech against Houston. I believe that's on September 19th, so that's another big early season game in the Big 12 conference.
Yeah, and Willie Fritz did an outstanding job last year at Houston. We know that was probably, outside of maybe everybody's memories from the backyard brawl, at least on paper, that was West Virginia's best win last season. They went to a ranked Houston team and pulled it off. But when you look throughout the history of Willie Fritz's coaching career and stops at Tulane and Georgia Southern, generally his teams make pretty significant improvement in their second year. So that's something that maybe because of how successful they were last year, there isn't a ton of improvement, but they've got a really explosive playmaker at wide receiver in Amari Thomas. And I would expect Houston to be every bit as good, if not a little bit better than what they were in Fritz's first season.
Well, Greg, we appreciate your input. We've got your poll down, and we'll check with we'll come up with a consensus by Friday. But we certainly appreciate your time and good work on this Kerr Kriisa story. And again, we remind folks that you can get more detail on that at WVMetroNews.com. Thanks for your time again. Have a good day.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good night. Talk to you soon.
Greg Carey at WVMetroNews.com. Big 12 Commissioner Brent Yormark from Big 12 Media Days earlier today. And by the way, West Virginia will be one of the 8 teams featured tomorrow. So head coach Rich Rodriguez will have some comments from him coming up tomorrow. We're in the Health Plan Studios. This is the CityNet statewide sports line. CityNet is West Virginia's local internet provider. High-speed, reliable fiber internet is probably right at your front door. Now is the perfect time to connect. Local customer support you can trust. Fast, reliable fiber internet built for everyday life. When it's high-speed internet you need, CityNet.net connects, protects, and perfects.
Hey, this is Brad Howe for your local internet provider, CityNet. For years, rural communities in West Virginia waited for reliable, high-speed internet. Now, fiber is most likely at your front door. Public investment helped build the opportunity, and CityNet delivered the service to homes and businesses just like yours. With free equipment, free installation, no contract, and local support you can count on, switching to fiber has never been easier. Fast downloads, smooth streaming, better connections for work, school, and everyday life. When it's high-speed internet you need, CityNet.net connects, protects, and perfects.
When an injury slows you down, getting back to work safely matters. At WVU Medicine Outpatient Rehabilitation, we focus on helping you recover, rebuild strength, and get back to your life. With work conditioning and return to work programs, our occupational therapy team creates personalized plans focused on safety, function, and long-term success. Ask your provider for a referral or visit wvumedicine.org/outpatient rehab.
Answering a text or phone call while driving. Seems pretty harmless, right? But in the 5 seconds you took your eyes off the road to respond, you missed the girl riding her bike across the street. You missed the dog who darted into the road. And you missed the stop sign. And while it was just a ticket this time, it could have been worse. In fact, more than 700 people are injured in distracted driving crashes each day. Keep yourself and others safe. Don't drive distracted. Just drive. This message was brought to you by the West Virginia Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide sports line
returns in 2 minutes
on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
For over 20 years, Dan Cava Toyota World has been more than a dealership. We're family-owned, community-focused, and committed to taking care of our customers long after the sale. Our commitment doesn't stop when you drive off the lot. With factory-trained technicians and a service team you can trust, we're here to keep your vehicle running at its best for years to come. So when it's time to get your next vehicle, choose the dealership that's been serving the community for generations. Visit Dan Cava Toyota World in Fairmont. Shop the world.
What do you know about hot dogs? Because we've been all about hot dogs this week.
I love hot dogs, and I love them with Miracle Whip.
Oh, God, I forgot. Never mind.
And onions.
Okay.
I actually, yesterday morning, I had a hot dog for breakfast at 6:45 with onions and Miracle Whip.
And with that, we'll be back right after this.
Join Dave Allen weekdays for midday on MetroNews Television.
You know CityNet is West Virginia's leading technology company. Whether we're managing IT infrastructures, protecting the critical data and networks of our region's businesses, or providing fiber broadband, TV, and phone services, we are your go-to experts. We're also a strong partner in the communities in which we serve. CityNet, your trusted technology partner. Learn more about us, visit citynet.net.
Looking for a show that talks about everything? You found it.
By the way, I'm really happy to talk about this as opposed to Ryan's opinion that being a sports fan is a bad thing.
He said that it kept him from being stressed about it, not that it was a bad thing, that he didn't have the stress. And, I mean, I've seen you pace.
Yeah, you're only 30 and you look like that.
So true.
Join Dave Weekly and Coop weekdays for Hotline on MetroNews Television.
CityNet statewide Sportsline continuing for this Tuesday. We're inside the Health Plant Studios, and still a scoreless game between Switzerland and Colombia. They're in extra time, and it is scoreless at the 117-minute mark. So the winner advances to play Argentina in the World Cup quarterfinals. We'll get into the World Cup in depth coming up in just a few minutes as Ethan Collins from MetroNews Sports joins us. All right, the commissioner today, Brent Yormark from Big 12 Media Days, flat out refused to address the Brendan Sorsby situation, which certainly didn't help. Didn't help at all. Like Greg Carey said, if today's not the day to answer the question, when will the questions be answered? Which apparently, by the commissioner's attitude today, they're never going to get into it deeply. He did have some interesting things to say on other topics, including expansion of the college football playoff. And the commissioner says he believes that the playoff expansion, you should go big with it. Go to 24 teams, even if it means the killing off of the conference championship games, like the Big 12 title game.
I liked 16 initially as I learned more about it, obviously without the additional AQs. When 24 became part of the conversation, we've done our own conference due diligence around it. And we think it might be a great fit for us. We discussed it most recently in our spring business meeting with our coaches. Across the board, they liked it. And we continue to have those conversations with our ADs and our presidents. We do need to understand the economics. Is there a marketplace to go to 24? We have to understand the scheduling dynamic and what that means, and the unintended consequences, which I said earlier. As it relates to our championship game, I think I've said it before, that's a huge tentpole event for us. I mean, we had over 85,000 attend last year, and our ratings were up 39%. It's a big deal for us. And there are economics that go with that champ game. So as we consider 24, we've got to look at what we have and what potentially we might gain, and ultimately make the best decision for the Big 12. But everything's on the table.
So go big with the college football playoff expansion, according at least to the Big 12 commissioner. He favors 24 over 16 in terms of expansion. What about international games? This year, Arizona State will play Kansas in London. TCU will play North Carolina in Ireland. Last year, Kansas State played Iowa State in Ireland. And Commissioner Brent Yormark says, yes, these international games in football and maybe even other sports, this is something the Big 12 is all in with.
We have global ambitions as a conference. Obviously, we're playing 2 games overseas this year. 14% of our student athletes come from outside this country, and 6 of our 16 institutions have campuses outside of the U.S. So it's something that we need to continue to do our due diligence on. I do like the NFL model and where they're going. I like the NBA and where they're going. If you think about where we've played internationally, it's pretty consistent and aligns well where the NFL and the NBA have been, and we'll see where we go in the future. But I'm excited about the possibilities. There's a lot of interest in Europe for what we do here at the Big 12, and we'll determine if, what's next and what's right.
So more international games likely, and I'm sure Mountaineer fans are excited about that potential, going to Europe perhaps someday in the future to play a college football game. All right, this private equity situation. The Big 12 recently approved a 5-year agreement with Redbird Capital Partners. It became, in fact, the first conference in major college sports to strike a league-wide private capital deal. The strategic partnership with Redbird Capital, it is a 3-pronged partnership designed to grow revenue for the league at a time when some schools are strapped for cash and vying to better position themselves. So again, it's a school-by-school decision whether or not to take advantage of this private equity situation, and the commissioner addressed that today.
We were at the forefront of private equity when I first got here. We explored all different options, from private equity to debt, you name it. And each conference, each school has to do what's in their best interest. We landed in a place that I felt was a great partnership with Redbird. That's all about business development. It's not traditional private equity. So we like where we've landed. We think we're in a really good place. We have a strategic partnership with Redbird. It's all about growing the conference and taking advantage of their ecosystem. But I can't speak to where private equity lands in college athletics, because every situation is different, whether it be at a conference level or at a school level.
And what about the Protect College Sports bill? And by the way, we've reached out here on the Sportsline. We've reached out to the folks that work with Senator Shelley Moore Capito. She's a part of this, not necessarily as a co-sponsor. You've got Ted Cruz of Texas as one of those co-sponsors, but she's been involved in this bill, and we're reaching out to her to see if she has time to comment on this, perhaps next week or the week after. It's a long, drawn-out process, and there's still a lot of work to be done on it. And U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia is a part of the team that's crafting this legislation. But today, Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, had some thoughts on the Protect College Sports bill.
I'll start off by saying I've probably spent more time on the Hill in this job in the last 4 years than I have throughout my entire career. And it was necessary. I think when you go to people and ask for help, you're not going to get back exactly what you want. Okay, that's life. When I look at the bill, and I've had lots of conversations with Senator Cantwell and Senator Cruz. In fact, I'll be there next week. There was a lot of negotiation that was being done, a lot of horse trading that was being done. And I look at where we've landed right now as progress over perfection. Nothing's going to be perfect. But the question is, can we make progress? Are we better off with a bill than without one? So to answer your question, when I think about some of the elements of the bill that I like, it starts with agent restrictions, which we need. Federal preemption, limited liability protection, the transfer portal, eligibility, cap circumvention, just to name a few. And they're not perfect as currently written, but they will help resolve some of the chaos that's currently in the system and deliver a more stable model for collegiate athletics moving forward. Next week, I'll be on the Hill and we'll discuss areas that could be tweaked and refined. But I think at the core, there's a lot in there to like. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, okay? But there's a lot to like. And I know, having spoken to both senators, again, it was a major negotiation. And you got to have give and take in those situations.
So Commissioner Brett Yormark there. Now, again, he did not address the Brendan Sorsby situation, just brushed it aside. But Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire was asked some direct questions about it, and one of the more interesting answers, we've got one more cut here to play from Joey McGuire of Texas Tech, and he was asked what the cost was to him and the university in supporting Brendan Sorsby like they did. Now, eventually, Sorsby, of course, gave up the fight to play college football, went into the supplemental draft or declared himself eligible for the supplemental draft. The NFL, of course, didn't want anything to do with it either, saying there would be no supplemental draft. But the bottom line is Sorsby's not playing college football, and how did Texas Tech deal with the aftermath of all of that? Head coach Joey McGuire.
And it's tough. The thing for me that through all of this, my president and my AD, who are good friends of mine, who believed in me, who hired me, they went through a lot. Like if you look as a whole, there were not a lot of coaches that said really a whole lot. There was some funny jabs taken by some coaches, but there wasn't a lot of coaches that just really came out and said a lot of different things. And so for my peers, I got a lot of support. Eric Morris, the first day any news broke, called me and said, "Hey man, I'm just doing a well check." He's a good friend of mine. Kalani is a great friend of mine. Said the same thing. Kenny Dillingham made a joke in a group text and then called me and said, I was kidding. I said, Kenny, dude, I get it, man. So for me, my peers, I had so much support from my peers, and it was tough to see Kirby and President Skubanek have to go through that. And so, I hate that for them. The thing that we really try to focus on is the Red Raiders and our alumni base and our boosters. And so that's who, whenever I've talked to, answered any emails, text, or anything like that, those are the ones that I'm concerned to make sure they understand where we were coming from.
Yeah, well, where they were coming from, the cost of supporting Sorsby through all that, ultimately for naught, as he won't be the quarterback of Texas Tech. We've got, again, drama at the World Cup as the final quarterfinal round spot is on the line. Switzerland and Colombia, they've gone to penalty kicks, and Colombia has scored on its first PK. So Colombia and Switzerland battling for the final spot in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. We'll talk more about that when we return. Stay with us. We're back in the Health Plan Studios. The CityNet statewide sports line continues after this.
We are there for you, to care for you at the Health Plan. We are here for you.
For over 4 decades, we've been rooted deep inside West Virginia. Through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Proudly serving your neighborhood since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community.
The Health Plan, we are here for you.
If a fire occurred in your home, would your smoke alarms work? Don't wait for a tragedy to find out. Smoke alarms are designed to give you and your family the precious seconds you need to safely escape. Test your smoke alarms every month by pressing the test button until the alarm sounds. Depending on the type of battery in your smoke alarm, you may need to change the batteries at least once a year or whenever the low battery warning chirps. And never remove the batteries for any reason. Remember, having working smoke alarms is not only a good idea, it's the law. A message from the West Virginia State Fire Marshal's Office.
This boating season, elevate your family time with Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Proudly family-owned for over 40 years, Lou and his sons are West Virginia's largest Avalon pontoon dealer. Trusted experts in premium boats, motors, and service. Discover refined comfort, elegant design, and performance you can feel. Now is the perfect time to take advantage of preseason savings. At Lou Wendell Marine Sales, they don't just sell boats. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com because the weekend's almost here.
We are there for you, to care for you at the Health Plan. We are here for you.
For over 4 decades, we've been rooted deep inside West Virginia. Through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Proudly serving your neighborhood since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community.
The health plan, we are here for you.
Answering a text or phone call while driving. Seems pretty harmless, right? But in the 5 seconds you took your eyes off the road to respond, you missed the girl riding her bike across the street. You missed the dog who darted into the road. And you missed the stop sign. And while it was just a ticket this time, it could have been worse. In fact, more than 700 people are injured in distracted driving crashes each day. Keep yourself and others safe. Don't drive distracted. Just drive. This message was brought to you by the West Virginia Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide Sportsline
returns in 2 minutes
on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
Today's Metro News television forecast is brought to you by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We sell family fun.
More dense fog is possible tonight into Wednesday morning's commute. Additional shower and thunderstorm potential the rest of the work week and through the weekend, bringing the potential for some flash flooding. Greater concern in the short term is looking east with a flood watch in effect through midnight, where we have a slight risk for excessive rain as we head into the overnight hours. A widespread marginal risk Wednesday and again on Thursday. So the highest accumulation through Thursday night is expected to be east, where we have the best chance of surpassing an inch. Central and western parts of West Virginia will get this opportunity for a slight risk of excessive rainfall Friday and again Saturday. So multiple rounds of potential flooding on the way. The first one here exiting as we head through the overnight hours. Then Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a bit more localized thunderstorms, nevertheless bring the potential for some locally heavy rainfall. FlySair forecast, it starts at home. You'll find a lot of areas you're traveling into may also have some wet weather to be mindful of as we head through the rest of the work week. Panhandle to Panhandle forecast, low temperature of 66 in Kingwood tonight, 70 for Moundsville, where we have 87 on Wednesday, 85 Morgantown, with showers and thunderstorms expected. Going east, mid-60s, rather common for lows in the overnight hours. Then 83 for Martinsburg. We'll see Petersburg, similar conditions. Davis staying in the 70s. Elkins, 67 tonight, closer to 70, looking toward Ripley. Highs here generally in the mid-80s on Wednesday. Snowshoe, 74. We'll see Lewisburg's 64 tonight with Charleston at 70. 86 there Wednesday, and some low 80s as you start to look to the east. So the focus will be on this active stretch with the potential for a lot of rainfall that could lead to flooding concerns the rest of the week into the weekend, looking quieter next week.
Oh, he saved it.
CityNet statewide Sportsline. We're inside the Health Plan Studios, and we got drama in the World Cup. Ethan Collins of Metro News is with us, and obviously follows this, watches every minute of every game.
I haven't been able to take my eyes off this all week, all month. I mean, it's just been absolutely crazy, and we just saw another penalty saved by former MLS player Cucho Hernandez for Colombia. So now it's back tied at 2-2, but I think they can. I actually think that Switzerland can win it here if they put it in.
So how big of an upset would this be if Switzerland wins on penalty kicks?
Switzerland's always been one of those good and consistent teams, but never great. I mean, certainly wouldn't have expected them to see them get into the last 8, but for them to make it to the round of 16 is pretty normal of them. They always show up in the Euros pretty well.
Waiting for the next penalty kick, and it's good. So Switzerland is up 3-2.
So Colombia's got to make this next one,
or Switzerland pulls the upset and goes to the quarterfinals. Okay, so we'll keep updated here. Earlier today, incredible drama as defending World Cup champ Argentina was down 2 goals to Egypt. And Argentina comes all the way back to win, of course, led by Messi.
Yeah, Messi, one of the greatest players ever, if not the greatest player ever. And he's really kind of built around that team. You know, everything kind of goes through him. It was an incredible comeback. I mean, you felt like Egypt dominated 75 minutes of that game, yet somehow Argentina comes back, and it's only mattering what the score is when the clock strikes 90 minutes, or I guess in added time when the ref blows the final whistle.
Okay, so Colombia has just scored. We're tied at 3, but Switzerland has 1 kick remaining.
Yeah, so if Switzerland gets this one, then it'll be over. But after that point, if they miss it, we go into sudden death. So it's just one after the other. Somebody's got to make it. Somebody's got to miss it.
The Egyptian coach today called it an injustice with what happened.
You're always going to have a little bit of drama in the World Cup for sure. Here's the thing. There was a goal disallowed by Egypt pretty early on. It would have been their second goal. They were able to get the second goal later on, but there was a foul that was completely on the other side. It may have insinuated kind of a foul. I thought it was a very, very soft foul, I guess you could say, and that led to a goal. And, you just sit there and you go, how much is VAR going to determine, what goes in, what doesn't go in, and whatnot. And when you have the best player in the world or possibly in the history of the game, you're going to get those calls that fall your way, as Switzerland just nailed the final penalty. And so they went on penalties 4-3, and they go to the last 8. So our last 8 are set.
Yeah. Switzerland against Argentina coming up, and we'll talk about the quarterfinals in a bit. But what happened last night? Belgium 4, U.S. 1 in a game. Well, Belgium scored quickly. U.S. tied it on a free kick, but after that point, they were never in the game.
Yeah, it was an incredibly flat performance by the USA. I mean, I don't really know if the exterior outside noise really got to them, a change in game plan possibly in the last 24 hours with Balogun's red card being rescinded, and they end up completely changing their game plan. I don't know if that had a lot to do with it, but, regulations and rules and stuff like that do not come down to what makes results. What do they say? It's the Jimmies and the Joes, and players didn't come play today. Tim Ream got absolutely exposed. Our defense was not clicking at all. Matt Freese made a colossal error that led to a goal, and Belgium just came out and played the best game that they've had the entire tournament. I've said this before. I didn't think Belgium had been very good throughout this entire tournament, and yet they're still able to find a way and get into the last 8 with their golden generation at the tail end of their prime careers.
So is it ultimately progress for the U.S. team, what they accomplished getting to the round of 16? Still haven't won consecutive knockout round games, but is this viewed as progress?
I don't know. We will kind of see where that leads in the next couple of years, I guess you could say, as new stars kind of emerge. Certainly, you're going to have some new faces step up in 2030 for the next World Cup. Pulisic's going to be 31. I'm trying to Anthony Robinson's going to be 33. You're going to have a lot of guys that was deemed in this coming of age years that this was going to be the World Cup in their prime, in their later stages of their career. So some guys are going to have to step up. New stars are going to have to emerge. So we'll see.
So the tournament continues without the U.S., and in fact, none of the host countries make it to the round of 8. So real quick, we got about a minute left. Give me a quick thought on each of these quarterfinal round games, France and Morocco.
That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Morocco's been the African champions. They made it to the last 4 last World Cup, but France has been the best team the entire tournament.
Spain and Belgium.
I don't know if Belgium's ever going to have the ball. Spain looked absolutely incredible in their round of 16 game against Portugal and have not conceded a goal their entire tournament.
England against Norway.
That's my most favorite matchup, and I'll basically come to say this. Since the USA are no longer in it, whoever wins that game, I'll be rooting for.
Okay. And then finally, Argentina, after the kind of a breathtaking comeback today against Switzerland, who upsets Colombia on penalty kicks.
Yeah, Argentina will obviously be the big favorites in that one, but don't count Switzerland out. They're a good, solid team that's got good team chemistry throughout. They'll definitely have a game plan to subdue Messi as much as possible.
So day off tomorrow, I believe, in the World Cup, and then the quarterfinal round games start Thursday.
Yeah, not a game every day now, unfortunately, but I could definitely say my fiance is happy to have a break. no soccer games for a day tomorrow.
Not soccer morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan, thanks. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back to the CityNet statewide sports line after this.
We are there for you, to care for you at the health plan. We are here for you.
For over 4 decades, we've been rooted deep inside West Virginia. Through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Proudly serving your neighborhood since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community.
The health plan. We are here for you.
If a fire occurred in your home, would your smoke alarms work? Don't wait for a tragedy to find out. Smoke alarms are designed to give you and your family the precious seconds you need to safely escape. Test your smoke alarms every month by pressing the test button until the alarm sounds. Depending on the type of battery in your smoke alarm, you may need to change the batteries at least once a year or whenever the low battery warning chirps. And never remove the batteries for any reason. Remember, having working smoke alarms is not only a good idea, it's the law. A message from the West Virginia State Fire Marshal's Office.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide sports line
returns in 2 minutes
on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
You own a boat because you love spending time on the water. Choose the outboard that allows you to make the most of it. Honda Marine's legendary reliability, ease of maintenance, and powerful performance keep you going strong. And they're all backed by the peace of mind protection of the industry's best limited warranty. Visit your Honda Marine dealer today and find out why it's more than an engine. It's your time on the water.
You know CityNet is West Virginia's leading technology company. Whether we're managing IT infrastructures, protecting the critical data and networks of our region's businesses, or providing fiber broadband, TV, and phone services, we are your go-to experts. We're also a strong partner in the communities in which we serve. CityNet, your trusted technology partner. Learn more about us, visit citynet.net.
We are there for you, to care for you at the health plan. We are here for you.
The Health Plan proudly supports our active and healthy communities and has been your most trusted carrier for over 40 years. Log on to healthplan.org for more information.
We are there for you, to care for you at the health plan. We are here for you. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you. We've got it down to a science, an absolute state of art. We do it all, restoration, cleaning, and reconstruction. When disaster strikes, just pick up the phone. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Final few seconds on the sports line tonight, and enough time to tell you since 1979, the Health Plan has called West Virginia home. From humble beginnings, they've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming a part of its fabric. For over 4 decades, they've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses, proudly serving West Virginia for over 40 years. The Health Plan. Special thanks to Ethan and Greg Carey. Tomorrow night, Kevin Kinder, Blue and Gold News, will be our co-host. We'll talk more about Big 12 Media Days and hear some of the comments from head coach Rich Rodriguez from Texas. We'll also get into some Mountaineer baseball talk and the reconstruction of the WVU roster for next season. And Joe Percata will be back on Thursday. We'll have more for you on Thursday and Friday as well. That's the Sports Line. Thanks for listening and watching. We're back tomorrow night.
From the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide sports line is an exclusive production of the MetroNews Radio Network.
All rights reserved.